Welcome to today's first 5 minutes lesson in using Microsoft Excel. In today's lesson, we want to take a look at navigating around the Excel software and becoming familiar with some of the terms that I think you need to know. So let's jump into it. All right, so let's get Excel opened up. So we type that in, and I'm using Excel 2013 for this particular tutorial. One of the first things we want to do is to get a blank workbook open. So there are a bunch of other features available for us to use, and we'll take a look at those sometime in another lesson. But for today, let's get blank workbook opened. So let's double click that. Single click actually works. So several things we want to look at in this workbook. One is the up here. These are called tabs. So when I make reference to these, I'll be referring to the tabs. So this is our home tab, our insert tab, and so forth. Below the tabs here, we have ribbons. And so this particular ribbon containing all the buttons and different features are dedicated to this particular tab. So our home tab, for example, we have this ribbon. Within the ribbon, we have several groups. And so in our home tab, on the ribbon, we have our clipboard group, we have our font group, our alignment group. So I'll make reference to these as groups. And of course, the groups can be expanded to see additional features that are available for that particular group. Good. So below the groups, these are called columns, and so we have column A, column B, and so forth, right? And this continues onwards, giving us enough space to work with. And then over here, we have rows. So we have columns and rows. Now, where these columns and rows intersect, for example here, we call these cells. So a cell is essentially where columns and rows intersect on our worksheet or on our spreadsheet. So this particular cell, for example, is called G6. So we call the column name first, followed by the row number. We can also see the cell name in this area over here called the name box. And so if I click here, you notice this changes to E6. If I click here, it's at E3. If I click here, it's at K18, right? And so we can easily check the name of the cell that we're working with in Excel by looking at the name box. Here we also have cell range. So for example, if I were to select, for example, click here and drag this way, this becomes range F3 to F15. If I were to click here, drag and select this way, this becomes cell range E4 to N4. And also if I were to do this, then this range becomes E6 to N18, right? And so we can see that we can have multiple ranges of data for us to work with. The next thing then that I want to look at is a workbook. So we call this entire thing a workbook, but a workbook, like any other book, can contain worksheets. So in our case, our first worksheet is sheet 1. Now we can change the name of sheet 1 by double clicking on the name of the sheet. So let's change the name of this to example sheet 1 and then press the enter key. So we can also have multiple worksheets in our workbook. By clicking on this add new sheet, it gives us a new worksheet for us to work with. So let me show you something. I'll put the number 1 in a cell there to show that it is sheet 1. And this is sheet number 2. I'll put the number 2 just somewhere in any cell just to show you the differences. I will rename the sheet to something new. So let's call it something. Just to show that the name can change, right? So you can call it whatever name you want. So this is the something sheet, and this is example sheet 1, right? So sheet 1 and sheet 2, and we can have multiple sheets across our workbook. So some of the terms we looked at again for today, we looked at tab, we looked at ribbon, we paid attention to groups within the different tabs. We also noticed or paid attention to the cells, and we know that a cell is basically where the column and the rows intersect. And we also took a look at workbook, and we know that a workbook can contain different worksheets, right? And of course, we can rename those worksheets by simply double clicking on them and typing in the name of the various worksheets. Good. So that's your basic navigation for Excel. We are right on the 5-minute mark. Stay tuned to the next part of the series where we talk about manipulating different cells and formatting cells. Peace out.